Hi and welcome back to Joy. This is a place where I love to share my tips and tricks on making functional beauty for your home. Today we're going to start making an ice cream cone using the toothbrush rug technique. The equipment and materials that we're going to need include a feature fabric for the cone and a feature fabric for the ice cream, as well as core fabric, toothbrush needle or safety pin, scissors, and a measuring tape. It might also be handy to have an A4 sheet of paper that you can roll up into a cone-like shape. Also, we don't need it right away, but later on when it comes to stuffing our ice cream cone, we'll need some extra material, some toy fill, and some sewing supplies. Now let's get started making our cone. As with all toothbrush rugs, we start by preparing the fabric. If you need a refresher on how to prepare the fabric, please look in the links below or in the cards above to see the instructions on how to prepare the fabric. If you just need a quick refresher, then keep watching here as I go through the steps. Now it's time to join the core and feature fabrics together. To do this, we sandwich them together at the end and fold over about 1/2 inch. We then snip into the fold about 1/4 inch and take the end of the feature fabric, which should be the front fabric, through the hole. Keep pulling it until it's almost all the way through, then tease the little corners in through the hole. Once this is done, pull tight. Now we're ready to start making the cone. Creating the cone requires a variation to the normal circular toothbrush rug technique. If you're new to this, feel free to review and practice the techniques described in the links below. Then you can get back to making your cone. The cone is started with a 3 chain. Remember to keep the tension of each of your loops consistent and large enough for you to put the toothbrush needle into in the next steps. Now you need to make a circle by creating a stitch in the first loop on the chain. At this point, make sure there is no hole in the cone by pulling on the core fabric strip to increase the tension. Now make a second stitch into the first loop on the chain. This will now be 2 stitches in that one loop, which is an increase. Then create 1 stitch into the next loop. At the same time, we're going to start shaping the cone, which means that we're going to have high tension on the core thread to make the toothbrush rug pointed at the end. The next stitch will be another increase, so 2 stitches into 1 loop. Now change the pattern and create a single stitch into each of the next 2 loops. As you work, periodically adjust the tension of the core strip of fabric to maintain the cone shape. Now increase into the next loop. As you've probably noticed, we're now alternating between 2 single stitches into the loops and then an increase into the next loop. While we continue to work on the cone, it's important to keep track of how large our loops are. Try to be consistent so that the cone has good tension throughout. And here are the next pair of singles. And the increase again. Followed by 2 more single stitches in the next 2 loops. And another increase. As we work, it's important to check that the cone we're creating is the correct shape. To do this, I like to compare it against the paper cone. Continue creating new stitches into your cone using the single increase pattern at this stage. We'll keep following this pattern until the cone reaches a size at which point we can reduce the frequency of increases. Otherwise, the diameter of the cone will increase too quickly and the shape of the cone will be compromised. You will know when you need to do an increase based on two factors. One, you may start seeing the core thread between the stitches, or two, the lengths of the loops for the stitches will be quite long. You will need to create an increase into the longer loops. Maintaining the shape of the cone is critical to the outcome of our project, so adjust the tension as you work and check against your paper template regularly. Continue to work on your cone, joining fabric strips as needed to your feature and core fabrics. Once your cone gets a bit bigger, it may help to flatten the cone to check that the sides are straight. Continue to work on your cone until it reaches the desired size. Mine is about 20 centimeters long, which is about 8 inches. Then do a final check of the shape of the cone before we finish the ends. At this point, you can finish the ends of the core and feature fabrics on the inside of the cone to complete this part of our project. You secure the ends by sewing under a few loops on the back of the project. As you can see, this can be a little bit tricky as the loops are quite tight. I like to alternate the direction that I take the loops through to make it a little bit tighter. It's important that we make them secure, otherwise when you join the ice cream to the cone it may become loose. Finish off the core fabric in the same way, going through different loops than those that you selected for the feature fabric. When pulling through the core fabric, don't pull it too tight because this will adjust the tension on our cone. Once you've gone under a few loops on the back with the core fabric, this is now secure. There's no need to trim the ends of the core or the feature fabrics because these will be on the inside of the cone. Now just reshape the cone and it's ready to be attached to the ice cream. We'll create the ice cream in part 2 of this video series.